It's the so-called miracle weight loss drug, credited with curing everything from obesity to alcohol and nicotine addiction to compulsive behaviours like gambling. But now new research is shedding light on the potentially deadly downside of Ozempic.
I got to give myself the dose.
This medicine's working.
I am down 20 pounds.
Goodbye, obesity.
It was touted as a magical weight loss solution from TikTok to Hollywood.
There are a million ways to lose weight. Why not do it through something that isn't as boring as working out?
But the Ozempic bubble might be about to burst, with a new study prompting calls for an urgent investigation into the link between the drug and thoughts of self-harm. Research finding an increase in suicidal ideation among patients taking both antidepressants and drugs containing semaglutide, the key ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy. 107 out of 30,500 case studies reporting suicidal thoughts while on the meds, a rate 45% higher than the risk associated with most other drugs. It's far from the first time the side effects of semaglutide have been called into question.
I had nausea all night, a little bit of dry heaving, really bad headaches.
Anxiety, mood swings, irritability, shakiness, also confusion.
Just this year, another report detailed patients with pre-existing mental health issues attempting suicide within weeks of starting the medication.
I think what should happen going forward is all prescribers should do a risk assessment for their patient, and in particular a risk assessment in regards to their current mental health status and potential future risk.
But others say the stats are tenuous and aren't necessarily cause for alarm.
Really just clear a signal that we need to design better studies with larger cohorts, larger samples that are more diverse, that include different patient profiles to verify whether or not this is indeed a risk factor.
So is the Ozempic dream over, or is it simply too soon to say? We are, of course, live from the lands of the Cooler Nation. Dr. Norman Swan is here to tell us more about this. Norman, we spoke to Johan Hari not very long ago on this show. He had a really interesting story. He wrote a book about taking Ozempic. And he said that his mental health sort of declined after he started taking it because he was using hunger to suppress a lot of his psychological issues, and suddenly he wasn't eating, and therefore he wasn't able to treat it in that way, and so the mental stuff really started coming to the fore. That story wouldn't be about the drug itself. That's just about the underlying condition and the eating situation. Is it possible, whatever the results of this mean, it might have nothing to do with the drugs?
Yeah, absolutely, completely possible. However, the way this drug works, this GLP-1, this hormone, that it has an effect, these lock and key mechanisms, I should say, in the brain and elsewhere in the body, it has lots of effects on the body that we don't fully understand. So it started off, it just had an effect on insulin with people with diabetes. Then they realized it had an effect on appetite. It almost certainly has effects on the brain as well. Now, whether this is causing suicidal ideation, you're right, it could be entirely coincidental, but we are getting anecdotal reports of this internationally. Now, equally, there are people who have obesity, have had trouble losing weight, and they feel great because they have lost their weight, so their mental health might improve. So you're not hearing this balancing story, but you certainly don't want people having suicidal ideation taking a drug, in some cases, which they might not need.
Hey, Doc, have you seen any real-life examples of people taking these drugs and having those sorts of side effects?
Well, look, I will divulge my personal story. During COVID, I put on a lot of weight. And, coming on the project looking fat, it's not a good look.
Oh, no.
I know.
Tell me about it.
That's why I'm here, not on the desk. And so it's not a good look. And I had dinner with cardiology friends who are cardiologists. They said, oh, you've got to try this drug. This is before Ozempic and this whole thing. We're getting marvellous results from this drug, getting them to lose weight. You should try it. So I thought about it. Anyway, I did try it, and, well, I felt terrible on it, was nauseous, and I felt depressed and anxious. And I wasn't antidepressants. That is an anecdote of one person. I might just be like Harari saying, well, the fact that I'm miserable not eating, but I don't get that when I just diet and go on a low-carb diet and try and lose weight. So I didn't go back on it. I didn't like it at all.
Is that the reason why you kind of jumped off the drug after that? Was it just the nausea, or was it that you were just feeling quite down?
I was feeling down, I was feeling nauseous, and I realised that as soon as I stopped the drug, I was going to put on weight again. Therefore, I just needed a much longer-term strategy.
Doc, a lot of people are using drugs like this, or this particular drug. Where do you think we go from here?
We're very bad at following up drugs once they're on the market. And what's needed here is probably a registry, a much more sophisticated registry of people who are specifically taking these drugs and following people through to see what side effects they're getting. And people need to report side effects better, and GPs need to report side effects so that authorities understand what's going on. So at the moment, just to summarize for people watching so that nobody's going to panic here, this is rare. So this is not a common side effect, and it looks as though it's in people who are already on antidepressants. So for the general group of people using this, it looks okay, but it does need further work.
Dr. Norman Swan, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Well, this story has raised any concerns for you or someone you know, you can contact Lifeline, the number 13 11 14, anytime.